College isn't for everyone. But if it's not for you, there's no need to vilify people who made a different choice. You just have to know what's right and best for you. And it's never too late. So, summarizing college trends, make the best choice for you. Appreciate that you have many choices, including non-college paths to success and wealth. Don't impose your judgment on those who made choices different from yours. And let's never become a nation where we celebrate ignorance and reject education and learning. Hello again. Welcome to The Ruthless Truth. I am your host, Truth Davis. In this forum, I share opinions, thoughts, truths on a wide range of topics based on what I believe to be a unique life experience. And you can read more about that in the bio or the notes. My intent is to share stories and hopefully provide some life and career lessons that will assist you in your journey. Please follow me on Instagram at TruthDavis5 and subscribe to the YouTube channel Ruthless Truth. General format, I'll share some initial commentary on current news or just my thoughts. Then I'll have a deeper discussion on one topic, which will be today's truth. And then I like to end with an American history fun fact. You know, I view the Ruthless Truth as an information and teaching platform. I strive to deal in facts and data rather than just judgment and opinion. And while at times I will discuss heavy topics, I try to stay light, positive, and occasionally humorous. And when I can, I try to share good news. But I got to tell you, that's becoming more challenging these days. There's so much more bad news than good news. I mean, just on the economy alone, the labor market is clearly slowing as November saw over 30,000 lost jobs in the private sector. That's negative growth for 3 of the past 4 months and 1.1 million jobs lost for the year. That's the most we've seen since COVID. Also, the housing market continues to be stagnant as inventory remains low and houses take longer to sell. And as expected, with only a few days left in this congressional session, it appears unlikely that the U.S. Senate and Congress will reach any type of agreement regarding Obamacare subsidies or any other potential healthcare solution, which means millions of Americans will experience significant increases in their healthcare premiums beginning in January 2026. However, there is one bright spot. The car market is becoming a buyer's market. After years of low inventory and high prices, the dynamics are shifting. Auto tariffs, persistent inflation, and a tighter job market have more Americans rethinking their biggest ticket purchases. Meanwhile, the U.S. electric vehicle market has all but collapsed, hastened by the end of the federal government's 7,500 EV credits that ended in September, costing the industry hundreds of thousands of potential vehicle sales. So in response, expect to see car dealers lowering pricing and offering financial incentives such as 0% financing. And it's not just new cars. Used car pricing is also expected to come down. So if you've stayed out of the market for a while, and there were many reasons for you to do so, now might be a good time to look at buying a car. Okay, so I know we're well into December, but I must confess I'm struggling to get into the Christmas spirit. You know, to try to jumpstart it over this past weekend, I put up lights and decorations, played my Christmas playlist, and did some holiday shopping. But the festive feeling just hasn't hit me yet. And as it turns out, I've learned I'm not alone. Surveys and social media research show that Christmas spirit is down this year, driven by economic stress such as inflation and job insecurity, life pressures, and a decline in religious significance. But 'tis the season, so despite the economic headwinds and somewhat somber tone of the nation, we still have things to celebrate. Let's appreciate family and health. We can still give gifts, but maybe less extravagantly than in recent years. I'm going to watch my favorite holiday movies, listen to my favorite songs, while I look forward to spending time with my family. I'll get there. I know I'll get there. Hope you do too. Okay, let's get to today's truth. Okay, today's truth. Today I want to talk about the state of college education in the United States. You know, there was a time when college was just seen as a next level education option following high school. It wasn't particularly controversial or political. You went into your senior year of high school really with only two questions to answer. Are you going to college? And if so, if yes, where? That was it. No political statements, no rebellions, no conspiracy theories about brainwashing or grooming socialists. Just a basic decision made by a 17 or 18-year-old. But now it's a much bigger deal on many levels. Okay, before we get into the conversation, let me reiterate a statement that I've made many times. College isn't for everyone. Marriage isn't for everyone. Children is not for everyone. And if a person chooses to do all, some, or none of these things, it's totally fine. So, I must admit, I'm a bit surprised and perplexed by the current discussions around attending college. Also, don't make the mistake of equating college attendance to intelligence or even education. I've met many graduates of Ivy League schools who were clueless idiots, while I have worked with highly educated people who never attended college. Now, I do believe that there are benefits to attending college, such as learning more about yourself and about others who differ from you. But these benefits are not the exclusive domain of universities. When I was at Verizon Wireless, my boss was the chief marketing officer and one of the most brilliant people I have ever met. I credit him with teaching me how to be a CMO. He later rose to be the number 2 executive at the company. Never stepped foot in a college classroom, but he was an avid reader, a self-taught marketer who was always focused on learning and getting better as a leader. Okay, let's first look at the current college trends, then we can have a conversation about it. Now, I'm going to start first with facts, and then we can debate opinions afterwards. Okay, some just facts. Most college applications and current students are women. Only 42% of recent college graduates were men. And at HBCUs, it's even worse. Only 26% of the students are male. Another known trend, colleges do lean left. There's a significant overrepresentation of liberals among college students and faculty. And despite the anti-immigration rhetoric, only 6% of college students are international. Okay, let's take the first one. Why does the percentage of men attending college continue to decrease? Okay, a few reasons. First, many men believe that they don't need a college degree to secure a high-paying job. And they're correct in this belief. There are many careers paying over $100,000 a year with no degree requirement, including air traffic controllers, commercial pilots, elevator repairmen, software developers, sales engineers, and the housing and construction trades such as electricians, plumbers, and HVAC. And All of these jobs skew very heavily male. Conversely, high-paying prospects for women often require a college degree. Okay, that's probably not surprising to a lot of you, but I was a bit surprised by the next factor. Many men consider college as feminine or non-masculine. Now, it's true, there are more female students than male, and young men are more likely to be politically conservative than women. As evidence, young men supported Donald Trump in large numbers because they see him as an alpha male who champions men and masculinity. Take that for what you will. And for some men, especially those with strong entrepreneurial drive, college is too restrictive because it's based in conformity. Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg both attended Harvard, and both of them dropped out because their vision and ambition were constrained by the university structure. Steve Jobs attended one semester at Reed College in Portland, Oregon, before dropping out. I think all three of them did all right without a college degree. Now, to the accusation that college is liberal. As a universal statement, it's simply not true. Now, it is true that the majority of universities lean left, but this does not apply to the entire system. One of the advantages or luxuries of higher education in the United States is that we have so many colleges and universities. The U.S. has several thousand institutions of higher education, while some larger European nations have fewer than 100. In the U.S., you can find a university that fits you. There are many, many conservative universities in the country, including Baylor, Auburn, BYU, the military academies, and Pepperdine, which is the alma mater of one of my sons. I was actually somewhat surprised he selected Pepperdine, given he attended a Quaker high school in Philadelphia. It doesn't get much more liberal than that. But he enjoyed his experience at Pepperdine, which again shows people of differing political beliefs can still coexist and even become close friends. Another trend is the situation at HBCUs and for overall Black college attendance. Of degrees earned by Black students, 64% of bachelor degrees are awarded to women. And for master's degrees, the gap is even greater, with women representing 71% of Black graduates. So what is behind this increasing gender gap? Well, higher college costs, the immediate financial need of young Black families, high suspension rates in high school, and a barrage of negative messages about academic potential all play roles in the decline of Black male college enrollment and college completion. All right, so more women are receiving degrees than men. Is this a big deal? Does it matter? What are the implications for the Black family and community? Well, the lack of college-educated men could change family structures and breadwinning patterns, placing more financial burdens on women. College-educated Black women already have higher lifetime earnings than college-educated white women because they work more years over the course of their lives, despite lower annual earnings. And that's according to the Kansas City Federal Reserve. These trends are impacting marriage rates and wealth building. Fortunately, there are programs and efforts to address this gender gap, although some of them are being challenged as part of the elimination of DEI. Okay, so I've outlined and summarized some key trends related to college attendance. All of this leading up to the big prevailing question. Is college worth it? Well, the short answer is yes. In general, the economic benefits of a college education still far outweigh the high cost. However, college does not pay off for everyone, according to a new study by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Many factors, including how much financial aid is offered and how much students have to pay out of a pocket, as well as the choice of major, future earning potentials, and how long it takes to graduate, determine the actual return on investment, the Fed researchers found. And it's just common sense. Those who choose majors that teach technical or business skills, such as engineering, accounting, computers, or financial management, are more readily employed and earn higher salaries. Those who chose social sciences like philosophy, political science, and sociology, they may struggle. I've always believed and said that people choosing these majors must not need a job after graduation, or they've already decided they're going to grad school because it's going to be hard to get a positive return on that degree. Now, that's academic majors. Let's talk about cost. Now, I know this next take is a hot take because I've taken much heat on it in the past. Okay, that's it. I am somewhat unsympathetic to the student loan crisis and the request for forgiveness. Now, before you start yelling at me, let me tell you why. Taking out a student loan is a choice. No one made you do it. Second, it's a contractual obligation and the terms were fully disclosed. But many who made this choice now want to be relieved of their obligation. There are many people who wanted to attend college but didn't because they couldn't afford it and they didn't want to assume financial burden of a student loan. There are also many other people who could only attend part-time because they needed to work to earn the money to pay tuition. And finally, there are people who did take out student loans and then repaid them, honoring the contractual obligation they signed. All of these groups were realistic and responsible in their financial choices. They didn't receive a bailout. Do you think they would have made different choices if they knew they could take out a loan and then not have to repay it? But then there's the argument I hear, but school is so expensive. How else could I afford it? Well, not all schools are expensive. If you have limited financial resources, then you should recognize you have more limited school options. But you could attend state school instead of a private institution. You can enroll in community college for 2 years, then transfer to a 4-year university. Almost everyone knows that Barack Obama graduated from Harvard. But what many of you don't know is that he transferred to Harvard his junior year after spending his first 2 years at Occidental College in Los Angeles, having received a full scholarship. And he is no less a Harvard graduate than people who attended 4 years. That said, I totally support revisions and assistance for current holders of student loans. I support providing more reasonable interest rates and more favorable payback terms. I can even support a reduction in the loan balance. But total forgiveness? I just think it's unfair to the financially responsible people I just discussed. One final point on this discussion of college. I am appalled by the recent movement and bullshit narrative that college is woke and indoctrinating students to be liberal and anti-American. What is the basis of this belief and movement? Well, it's election results. In the 2024 presidential election, voters with a 4-year degree or more education, who constitute about 40% of all voters, favored Harris by 16 percentage points, while those without a college degree favored Trump by nearly the same amount at 14 points. That is a huge 30-point gap. Now, there are many complicated factors driving these trends, but some have come to the simplified conclusion that colleges and college graduates are bad for Republicans. So they're taking action. In September 2024, the Republican auditor of Mississippi which is the second most uneducated state, called several social science and humanity degree programs at state universities as, quote, indoctrination factories. And among the garbage fields in that audit were anthropology, sociology, and of course, African American studies. That same month in West Virginia, the most uneducated state in the country, 28 majors and 143 faculty positions were eliminated at West Virginia University, whose budget was cut between 2013 and 2022 by its Republican-dominated legislature. 1/3 of WVU's education department faculty was fired, along with its entire world language department. The university's board also proposed cutting its graduate programs, including mathematics. Finally, the president has been engaged in an ongoing battle with elite universities such as the Ivy League and others. He's suing them, restricting enrollments of international students, and demanding changes to curriculum and staff hiring. He's threatening to cut federal funding and imposing fines. As I said before, college isn't for everyone. But if it's not for you, there's no need to vilify people who made a different choice. You just have to know what's right and best for you. And it's never too late. I had a close friend recently graduate from college in her 50s and then kept going and earned her master's 2 years later. So, summarizing college trends, make the best choice for you. Appreciate that you have many choices, including non-college paths to success and wealth. Don't impose your judgment and on those who made choices different from yours. And let's never become a nation where we celebrate ignorance and reject education and learning. Okay, let's get to today's American history fun fact. Today's American history fun fact. I want to tell the story of my favorite candy bar. Now, let me first say, I'm not a big fan of sugar or desserts, especially candy. I haven't had a soda in over 17 years, and seldomly do I eat dessert. But I do have a short list of favorites that includes chocolate cake, carrot cake, apple pie, brownie, bread pudding, and Baby Ruth candy bars. Okay, Baby Ruth candy bar. The Curtis Candy Company was founded in 1916 by Otto Schnering near Chicago, Illinois. Now, no one connected with the company or family was named Curtis, but given the anti-German sentiment during and post-World War I, Schnering wanted to have a more American-sounding name for his company. Its first confectionery product was the candy cake, which was a candy bar made of peanuts, caramel, and milk chocolate flavored nougat covered in compound chocolate. Well, in 1921, the candy cake was renamed Baby Ruth, and within a few years was the best-selling brand in the 5-cent confectionery category. Now, the new name was very similar to the name of Babe Ruth, who was just coming into prominence at the time. It was actually the previous year that Babe Ruth shattered the major league record for home runs in a season. So most consumers and the public just assumed the candy bar was named for Babe Ruth, especially given the Curtis Company was located on the same street as Wrigley Field. But the Curtis Company never approached or secured a sponsorship deal with the legendary ball player. And there's no debate that the implied endorsement helped fuel the popularity of the candy bar. But when challenged on the name by Babe Ruth's people and others, the Curtis Company and Otto Schnering responded with confusion and denial. What? You think we named this after Babe Ruth without first securing an endorsement deal? No, not at all. This is just a very odd coincidence. We named the candy bar after Baby Ruth Cleveland, daughter of previous U.S. President Grover Cleveland. Really? Really? That's your story. Okay, before getting further into this, let's understand the story of Ruth Cleveland. Ruth Cleveland was born in 1891, the eldest child of 5 children born to Grover Cleveland, who at the time had just left office after a failed re-election campaign for president of the United States. Now, Cleveland would later regain office in 1893 as the 24th president, becoming the only person to serve 2 non-consecutive presidential terms until Donald Trump's election victory in 2024. Now, Ruth's birth, which came in between Cleveland's 2 terms of office, caused a national sensation. Known as Baby Ruth, she became the darling of the country. Flowers were named after her. Songs were written about her. However, Ruth was always a sickly child. And on January 2nd, 1904, she contracted diphtheria at the age of 12. Now, the doctors initially thought it was a mild case, but she unexpectedly died of heart failure just 5 days later. Okay, so back to 1921 and Babe Ruth. So he sued the Curtis Candy Company for using his name without compensation, arguing it was pretty difficult to believe they named the bar after a 12-year-old who had died 17 years earlier. However, Otto Schnaring maintained his position, stuck to his story, and he ultimately prevailed and never paid Babe Ruth a cent. Now, in response, in 1926, Babe Ruth did lend his name to a competitive candy bar. And it was marketed as Ruth's Home Run Bar. But the Curtis Company sued Babe Ruth and the new bar, arguing the name was too close to Baby Ruth and created confusion in the marketplace. The courts agreed, and they shut down the Babe Ruth bar. Oh, the irony. Babe Ruth's name was taken without permission to create the country's most popular candy bar. And when he actually did endorse a product, he was sued for brand infringement of his own name. However, shed no tears for Babe Ruth. Even without the sponsorship funds, he was by far the richest athlete in the United States, even earning more than the president on an annual basis. And Baby Ruth continued to sell well, fueled by clever marketing campaigns, often baseball themed. To this day, the candy bar annually ranks as one of the most popular brands. Okay, that's all I have for you today on The Ruthless Truth. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Again, follow me on Instagram at TruthDavis5. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Ruthless Truth, and also the Facebook page, Ruthless Truth. Thanks again, and I will talk to you soon.